A new report exposes threats posed by China's Belt and Road Initiative. It looks into how Beijing has used debt trap diplomacy to get access to resources at the expense of other nations' sovereignty. NTD's Patrick Hayden has the details.
The Captive Nations Coalition has released a report showing how the Chinese Communist Party is trying to dominate the world. It's written from a US national security and human rights perspective.
We need to recognize internationally that the Communist Party of China is a transnational criminal organization.
Beijing's Belt and Road Initiative is a multi-trillion-dollar project billed as an investment plan. Logerson says 140 UN-recognized countries have signed onto it. Under the project, China pours funding into critical infrastructure around the world, including ports, highways and railroads. Critics say Beijing uses it to gain influence over countries, leaving relatively poorer nations in debt and taking control of newly funded infrastructure, and above all, using it as an influence circle to counter the West. Looking at the Belt and Road debt-to-GDP ratio shows China basically owns others already.
And what we find is that the debt-to-GDP ratio for some of these countries, especially Mongolia, owes 76% debt to GDP. Mongolia is owned by China. It's a democracy, but it is literally owned by China. You see this also in Pakistan, that owns a quarter of its debt to GDP.
Although Canada hasn't signed up, it's still supporting Beijing's initiative.
Canada is included because it supports mechanisms that support the Belt and Road Initiative. They haven't signed on to any loans that are specifically Belt and Road, but they are involved in the supporting mechanisms. So we see them as an emerging CCP threat.
The West has recently banded together to give less wealthy countries an option to borrow, instead of using China. It's called the Build Back Better World.
It is important that these countries be supported in their desire to grow stronger. And it is important that the free countries of the world that remain provide an alternative to what China is offering through the Belt and Road Initiative.
From a human rights perspective, the Captive Nations Coalition is raising awareness of human rights abuses in China, including genocide. It sees the forcible capture of China's bordering countries Tibet, East Turkestan and southern Mongolia as enslaving those countries. Patrick Hayden, NTD News.